everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog and the Underdog Fantasy family. And if you head on over to Underdog Fantasy right now, you can use promo code TRIPLE to get a deposit match up to $100 when using that code. Great for fantasy football drafts. Scott Fishbowl is getting ready to kick off. And with that being, again, like if you're getting that draft fever for football, go check out Underdog and use that code. Welcome back to a fantasy baseball episode tonight, joined by Doc, Little Cheesecake, and Marty Party. Now, Little Cheesecake is working his way through injury to be on the show tonight. So all those listening, just know that our guy is putting forth his best effort to give you guys a great show. I got to check on the guy coming off or might be going on the IL after the show. I don't know. Art, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I think it's going to be harder to get through a full day of work tomorrow. I think the thing is I need to get a standing desk. Do you guys, any of you guys work at a standing desk? I think I need one of those.
I don't.
Yeah, I have an adjusted one where I can, I crank it up and then, goes up to wherever I want, and then I crank it down when I want to sit. Today I am sitting. Sometimes you'll see me doing the show standing. So yeah, it's 100% worth it. I got it for like $300. It was worth it.
Is it too much to do a treadmill desk? You guys seen those?
That's crazy. Yeah. I've seen people put that under their feet. Yeah, that's just go for a walk,
Take your lunch break.
Yeah. Take a 5.
I just can't see that. I feel like the niche of it would be cool for like the first few weeks. And then after that, I'd be like, if I'm working, I want to sit down. If I'm exercising, I want to stand up and exercise. Don't need them both combined. But anyway, Doc, how you doing?
At this point next week, I'll have drafted my Scott Fishbowl team, have done 0 prep so far. But, maybe it's like TGFBI where I just have some good luck.
The new rule changes and everything for it?
I saw it like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I want to refresh your memory. I think it's
I will.
Yeah. Marty Party, how's our guy doing?
I am anxiously awaiting James Wood tomorrow. That's how I'm doing. I'm waiting. I'm excited.
He was called up a few days ago and he still hasn't debuted.
They said Monday was his debut.
Yeah.
Just so they could screw with Fab.
Yeah. I was like, if you can't pick him up yet, you have to wait till next week.
No, we have to wait up.
A little backstory on James Wood. David and I used to go to a barber who has cut James Wood hair for years. And he was telling us like 7 years ago when this guy was probably in middle school that he was going to be a great MLB player or had a chance to make it to the MLB. We always thought he was full of it. And tomorrow he proves us wrong.
Hold on, Doc. Being the investor and the smart man you are, you didn't think to get a ball signed?
I mean, it's kind of weird. This was before fantasy baseball Twitter, but I also felt like it was kind of weird to have someone that I don't know that is a good high school baseball player sign something for me. Now, if he was to sign something for me now, I'd be appreciative.
Now,
is he still your barber? No.
Now that James Wood is in Washington and not San Diego, he could still go to him.
But didn't we ask Vince if he would potentially like give us get us in contact so we could do an interview with him?
It'll be in the off season. I'm going to keep pushing for it.
I feel like it'll be a stretch for him to get us him, but if he does, I mean, that'd be a hell of an interview for sure. Anyway, back to actual baseball talk for tonight. A lot of stuff going on in Week 15. We've got potentially some sleepers or pitching streams, some waiver wire pickups for your fab leagues, some questions on players that started out cold, turning up hot, vice versa. Without further ado, why don't we get into the show a little bit here? I want to start the show, and I want to shout out Marty because he kind of prepped up a really nice show sheet for everybody tonight. I want to start out here, though, actually. George Springer. People could say, I think out of all the DMs I've gotten, or just questions about people, George Springer's was at the top of the list. And people are like, can I cut George Springer? Can I cut George Springer? I just don't think I can keep him around anymore. Well, you were rewarded if you stuck with George Springer. Had a 2-homer game earlier this week, has had multi-hits multiple times this week. Did get hit I believe, was it hit on the hand, but then was back in the next day. Had another, I believe, another hit and a couple RBIs today as well. George Springer looks like he's back. My question to you guys is a couple things. Number one, is George Springer back for real? Number two, if George Springer was released and he's out there, assuming you have $100 of fab, what percentage of that are you going to spend on him? I'll start out with you, Eric.
So I'm pulling up a Joe Arico tweet because I think he summarized this really nicely. George Springer, the last 30 days, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. George Springer, the last 30 minutes, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. He was really, really cold. And I think there was validity of whether to drop him or not. And kind of reminds me of the hitter version of Hunter Brown, who we talked about last week. I mean, I think with Springer, the talent is there. And, yeah, I would take a chance on him. I don't think that he's going to have the power numbers that we've seen. I'm pulling up his stats right now. I certainly think from a points league, he's more beneficial. He only has 8 stolen bases on the year and none in the last week. So it was really just a power surge. And 6 of those 10 RBIs came in one game. If I had to use a percentage of fab, I'd go 45.
45% if Springer's out there.
Yeah. The season is more than halfway over. And especially if you need a boost, he has that ceiling.
Okay. Marty, what about you? What do you think?
I'd probably do around 30, and only because of his injury history, I would be a little weary because I've had so many injuries. It'd be hard to invest in any more than that. But what got me thinking about George Springer, I was on Baseball Savant, and I was looking at batting average and the differences between current batting average and current expected batting average. And George Springer, 6 out, batting average of 212 and an expected batting average of 259. So if that's kind of what, and that's pretty much what he's been doing. I'd say around 260, 270 over the last 3-4 years is what the George Springer that you'll probably get. The power's taken a little bit of a step back. And will the Blue Jays keep him the rest of the season? I don't know what their plan is. I know they owe Springer a lot of money, so it may not be easy to move him. And he's moved back in the lineup. So for all those reasons, I'd say around 30.
So George Springer has a 77th percentile sprint speed. He's got 8 stolen bases up to this point. He had 20 last year. His numbers last year, 21 homers, 20 steals. He's got 8 and 8 right now. Is it out of the realm of possibility he could finish with a 2020 season if he continues to hit better? Because I feel like the reason his stolen bases were down so much, and obviously power, is just he wasn't hitting well. He wasn't getting on base enough to be able to steal bases. Could we be getting kind of in the second half the 12 and 12 potential, which would be obviously a nice step up from what we've gotten so far? And at this point, it's worth spending 50% or more of your fab on him. What do you think, Art?
I'd be loath to spend 50% of my remaining fab on a hitter. That's not generally. I think hitters go for a little bit less, especially veterans. I think I would not. I would try to tone it down to not overspend. With Springer, I think 12-12 for the second half is a definite possibility. What I look at when I see him is someone who is thus far in the season, his ground ball rate's up, his launch angle's down, his max EV is down. I think where he might come up short is in power, but I think the batting average is going to come up, and in like a 5 outfielder league, he's still definitely going to be a rosterable, startable, everyday outfielder for the rest of the season. 12-12 easily within. If he doesn't make it, I honestly think it'll be power that doesn't get there.
So the reason I say no 12-12 the rest of the season, he missed 8 games last year, and he's already missed 7 this year. I don't see him only missing 1 more.
To your point, Doc, I'm looking at rest of season projections. The Bat X has him for 9 more home runs and 8 more stolen bases rest of the season.
I think that's pretty fair.
So 17 and 16 is what he'd finish with at that point.
Yeah.
So are we taking the over or under on that?
I'm taking the under.
I'm taking the under, even though I said spend money.
I'm taking the over.
I think
he's turned it around.
It doesn't come down to the skill. It becomes down to his injury history.
That's my thing.
Well, we will see. I want to stay in Toronto and talk about another player in Bo Bichette, who has been one of the biggest letdowns in fantasy all this season, especially considering how high of a pick he was. He's got 4 homers and 4 stolen bases on the season, only hitting .234. Now we know Bo Bichette has not been a stolen base threat of the last few years. Only 13 steals in 2022, 5 steals in 2023, and 601 plate appearances. He's got 4 and about half of that this season. So the stolen bases could bounce back to closer to double digits if he stays on this pace. But, he's about a 50th percentile sprint speed, just above average in that regard. But expected batting average of .271. So there is some potential there in terms of some batting average regression. But in terms of his career numbers, I mean, walk rate's about where it's been. It's a little higher. Strikeout rate is actually the career low this year, 16.6%. I'm just kind of at a loss if you have Bo Bichette on your team, what you should think at this point, because you're not trading him. I think his value's at the lowest it's going to get. But is there a silver lining? Is there hope for a Bo Bichette owner out there that you could get closer to the all-star that we've come to see the last few seasons? What do you think, Marty?
Okay. All-star Bo Bichette? I don't think so. I expect somewhere around 7 to 10 more home runs, which is rosterable. I think he's still a top 12, top 10, top 10 shortstop. So he will be another one of those people that I'll be waiting for if the Blue Jays maybe decide to move on from him. He has no trade value. You can't trade him and expect a lot back for him. So I think you just gotta stay and stick with him. Everywhere you have him, you're just gonna have to hold him, I think.
Would he look good in a Tigers uniform, Marty?
Yes. We would gladly take him. Now, and I could be wrong here because I obviously don't know Bo Bichette. We're not close friends or anything like that. But he strikes me as someone that doesn't care as much as other players as far as getting the most out of yourself. Whether that's because he grew up rich because his father was in the show or whatever. Or maybe there's just something not clicking in Toronto where, I mean, I see Vlad's now hitting these home runs, and I've been fully on Vlad all year, but there's just this kind of lack of something, fire, motivation, whatever it is. So I'm kind of out on Bo Bichette moving forward, just in general.
Okay. Marty's out on Bo Bichette. Art, what say you?
I think it would be hard to drop Bo Bichette. I don't think there's anybody out there comparable talent or ceiling wise to pick up for him. I think what we're going to see from him, I like that he's leading off now. I think that gives him a chance to produce a little bit more fantasy juice for you in terms of runs and more plate appearances. I don't see a lot of good coming out of what he's done so far. He's no extra base hits since coming off the IL. His barrel rate's way down. He's coming off that calf injury, so maybe the mini spike in speed will even just deteriorate. But I think you have to, he still has that 271 XBA, which is really good. He could be a batting average play with decent runs moving forward. And I'm not expecting him to have a great season. I think he's going to have a down season. I'm not as off on his future potential as everybody. I think Toronto is a weird place. I think they've kind of had a weird development cycle with their players and their talent that they brought up that was going to be this very exciting offense. They kind of did not develop them into consistent players. Even a guy like Vlad who has long down stretches, Bichette as well, and so and Toronto itself as a team wasn't hitting well. Hopefully they start to pick it up. I mean, they're still in the hunt as a team. They're 42-42. I think they have a chance to want to stick it out. And if Bichette, Bichette has to be good for them to do anything. Right now, though, he's just not striking the ball with a lot of authority.
Yeah, it's hard. There's not a lot in his profile to necessarily love. You just have to hope that his track record he's going to figure out something and turn it around. Because if you drafted him, he's not the player you thought he was at this point in the season. Doc, I want to go to you. Unless there's something you wanted to add to this.
I was going to say, part of me wonders with Bo Bichette. You remember when he missed time with right knee discomfort last year, and they said that it could be something nagging, and then he missed time this year with a right calf strain. So that's both in the right leg. I mean, we've seen athletes that have had their, and I'm not going to call Bo Bichette a superstar, but their all-star capabilities wiped away because of bad knees. And I think of basketball, Brandon Roy's and Tracy McGrady's, but I feel like that's zapping the power from him. It's zapping him from hitting the ball hard. And then when he's on the base pass, he's not being as aggressive. He has 4 stolen bases this year, but he had a career high of 25. And the base running paths made things easier. So the fact that there is an 80% drop off, to me, I feel like this is something that's chronic and nagging, and he's going to play through, especially to get paid. But after that injury last year, he just hasn't seemed like the same guy.
All right, fair enough. Then I want to move forward. There is another Toronto player we could talk about, but I want to get through more players here from other teams on here. And Doc, I want to go to you because for those that don't know, Doc used to be a Mets fan, and then Doc was a Nationals fan, and then Doc was an Orioles fan. So I'm going to go back to your old team, the Washington Nationals, and I want to ask you about Nick Senzel, who at one point was one of the hot pickups in fantasy baseball. On the season, 7 home runs, only 1 stolen base, hitting .211, has 4 hits in his last 7 games. His last 2 games, no hits. Striking out more. Strikeout rate is up to about 23.3%, which is just above league average. Hard hit percentage is one of the lowest in baseball, under 30%. Max exit velocity, not good. Exit velocity is actually, I believe, it's the bottom 1% of baseball in terms of his overall exit velocity. So he's not hitting the ball hard. He's striking out above league average rate. 7 home runs on the season. So right now he's on pace for about 14 or so home runs, only 1 steal. Is he just a clear cut in your mind, and even in a 15-team league at this point?
I don't think he should have ever been rostered in the first place. It's not like he's the epitome of health. The only thing that you can look at is third base outfield eligible. But I mean, even though you said he had a good stretch of hits over the last 4 or 5 games.
No, I said he didn't.
Besides the last 2, but 136.
No, I said over his last 7 games, he has 4 hits.
Oh, 4 hits. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, that's clear cut.
Okay, easy enough then. Let's move to another.
Why'd you bring him up if you just trashed him the entire time? Did you expect?
Well, no, because Marty did a really good job of a show sheet of players to talk about, and I'm going through some of the players on the show sheet to talk about.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm showing my respect to our guy here, so respect him.
You could have just said that he sucks and moved on. I would have been okay with it.
Probably the most a podcast has talked about Nick Senzel this year.
Yeah. So interesting. Forrest says in our in the chat, I think this is kind of interesting. So everyone remembers when Yasiel Puig came up and he had the one amazing season, and then he was kind of safe to say, kind of just like nothing or close to nothing for the little bit rest of his career he had in the bigs. He was kind of lower living off of that beginning part of the rookie season he had. He sees him as Bo Bichette is more like a Yasiel Puig than a Francisco Lindor. Do you think that?
I was going to say with what Doc said about his knee, that actually, because when you track his max exit velocity 4 years ago, he hit a ball 115 miles an hour. That's good. Like that, if you're saying that consistently, like the power is legit. His max exit velocity this year is 111. And let's say if he's been injured for the last year and a half, maybe that would take away from his love from the game. Maybe it would be harder to go all out day in, day out. So maybe it could be less of like not caring and more of just like the body's not ready and he's still playing through it because he has a contract coming up. Like his contract year is that does he have the end of rest? Is it this season and next season? Or
I think
yeah. So coming off knee surgery, going into your biggest free agency, I could see why he's trying to do everything he can. So I don't know, just a food for thought.
It was interesting to see what happens with Bo Bichette. Let's talk about a catcher in Patrick Bailey. On the season right now, 6 homers, 25 RBIs going into today. So he actually had a 3 RBI day, 2-hit game against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Has started, I believe, 5 of the last 6 games. 5 of the last 6 games he started. He is the starting catcher for the Giants, 25 years of age, 284 batting average, 6 home runs, 2 steals from the catcher's position. Is he somebody? I'm going to throw it this way. In a 2-catcher league, he needs to be rostered. In a 1-catcher league, do you think he is one of the 12 best catchers in baseball? I'll go to you, LC. What do you think?
He's hitting like one of them. Right now, he is, if he had qualified plate appearances, he would be leading the league in percentage of balls hit in the sweet spot area, launch angle. He would be ahead of Freddie Freeman. Now, I mean, that's generally you can see, like, if you have a good launch angle sweet spot percentage and your strikeouts aren't insane, because like Brent Rooker has a really good, so does Michael Busch, but they both strike out 32, 35% of the time. But if you're like Freddie Freeman and you have a good one, Patrick Bailey has a 20% strikeout rate this year, which is a nice improvement over last season. If he's hitting the ball 45% in the sweet spot with a low strikeout rate, that just is going to produce a good batting average for him. He's earning this batting average. I think it's legit. I don't think Kurt Casale is more than a backup catcher. I think it's Bailey's job. So, yeah, I definitely pick him up. If I was in a 12-catcher league, I'm trying to think of 12 catchers that I like more than him, and I might have to get back to you, but I don't think there are that many.
All right, so Patrick Bailey.
There's always like a top 3 or 4 catchers, and obviously JT Realmuto's hurt, and then the other like top 8 and the top 12. It's just who's ever hot or not. Like you would say David Fry's a top 12 catcher a month and a half ago, and you might not say that now.
It's a very, very point, Doc. Sometimes it's Patrick Bailey looks good right now, but in a month he could be someone that's just sitting around on the wire because he could be producing for your team and you have a win and that's not good enough and you cut him anyway. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, some people, if they don't get a high-end catcher, stream that position in a 1-catcher league. You know, who's the one that's producing right now? Is the backup catcher hurt, so they're playing more and they're multi-position eligible, so they're getting extra at-bats? You know, is this catcher hit 3 of the last 4 games, so he's going to stay in the lineup? You know, is he a really good for this pitcher? You know, like the Garrett Cole, Hishioka one, where you're like, okay, like this pitcher wants them as the catcher. There's a lot of the nuances of the position, but I do think right now, if you are streaming catcher, he's someone you should try to work in there, maybe stick in your lineup based on how he's been hitting. Your boy just dropped him because he had to with some of the injuries I have on my home league team, but he is a great target to have. And in points leagues, I believe he's averaging about 2 points a game anyway, so he's a good catcher in points leagues as well in that regard. Marty, let's talk about some young players that maybe are not on everybody's radar that we should bring to their radar. Let's start off with Landon Knack of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he kind of looked interestingly good recently. His last outing against the Giants, 4.2 innings, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. He faced the Angels before that, 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, no earned runs. Basically, his last looks like 1, 2, 3 outings. He's given up 1 earned run or fewer in just about 5 innings, just under in 2 of those starts, 4.2 innings. So he's not giving you a ton of innings, but he's preventing runs and he is getting strikeouts. Is he somebody that if you're looking for pitching, you believe is worth the bid on the waiver wire for? Or are you kind of like he's not going deep into games? It's a matter of just when and not if he blows up.
Yeah, so looking at his expected ERA, it's 3.53, which is fine. The strikeouts, 20.7 strikeout percentage to a 6.6 walk percentage. So it's nothing flashy. It's like when Kyle Hendricks was maybe his best, that kind of, producing soft contact and trying to just kind of nip the corners, and the stuff's not crazy overwhelming. So, how long will he stay up as well? I'm just opened up. So Tyler Glasnow, James Paxton, Bobby Miller, Gavin Stone, Landon Knack.
I don't know how much longer you can say James Paxton. He got blown up today too.
So when I look at that, it says to me that he's he's going to be a starting pitcher until maybe he does blow it or something else. I don't know if anybody else, and maybe you guys know this, that there's a starting pitcher coming off the IL for the Dodgers coming up here shortly. But I think in a 15-team league, he's definitely worth, maybe throwing $25 at and just kind of seeing, kind of going from there. Anything other than that, I think he's streamable in a good matchup.
Streamable. I'll take that for him. I think that's a good call there, Marty. I'd like to point out Uncle Ted is back in the chat. What's up, Uncle Ted? Long time no see. Hishiaga is the catcher to add. What a week. Yeah. Josh Winkowski is the starter to add this week. You already know Uncle Ted has his claims. He's ready to go. Our buddy James has a question for us. And he says, please pick the rest of season categories option available on the waiver wire. 10 teams. Adolis Garcia, Luis Robert, Wyatt Langford, or Heston Kjerstad.
I would
going
know what type of league.
He said categories.
Is it Roto?
I'm assuming Roto. I'm assuming Roto. Yeah, I'm gonna go Robert.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Robert, and then I'm gonna rank them for fun. Robert, Garcia, Kjerstad, Langford.
That would be my order as well.
I put Langford above Kjerstad, I think, but I
playing time.
Yeah.
I
think Langford.
I'm going to take Garcia. On the order that Marty did, except switch Garcia and Robert. Garcia's heating up over the last week. 286, 3 homers, 3 RBIs.
Yeah, that Texas team is slowly starting to get back. I don't know. We'll see what happens to Kyle Seager because he's obviously a big cog in that, especially him getting on base. Or I don't know. Does anybody know off the top of their head where Adolis bats in the lineup?
4th.
Is he? Okay, so
I watched the game last night. So yeah, it goes Seager and then Smith, and then he hits 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Smith, shout out to him, man.
Yeah, Smith has been awesome.
Yeah, he has.
I got him in Glarf, and he's been the only thing that's good that's happened to me that entire league all year. So I'm celebrating it.
I had the best week from what the heck was his in Darf from a random pickup this week. What the heck was his name? It used to be
Mickey Moniak?
No, the guy used to be on he's on Toronto now. He used to be on the Yankees. Infielder. What the heck is his name?
IKF.
IKF, yeah. Scored 10 runs this week. Went 10 for 20. He had a huge week.
10 runs, man. That's crazy.
10 runs.
I've been starting IKF the last month in TGFBI.
He's hurt though now, right? Did I see that?
No. He's had a solid under the radar.
Have you guys that made me think of, so there's it was an Instagram reel of where it was like this guy and he was like who's that guy that played for the Wizards? He was like this French player from like 2013. What's his name?
Jan Vesely?
No, French player. He was a big man.
Jan
Mahinmi, yeah.
No, Eric, you should know this.
French player. Was he drafted in 2013 or did he play for us then?
He was like playing for us in 2013.
Oh, Kevin Seraphin.
Yes, there you go. Kevin Seraphin.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do you know that? And they're like, yeah, he averaged 9 points and 8 rebounds a game in 2017. That was his career year. And they're like, have you ever touched grass? And then it was just a funny thing because they're like, they were just like, oh, but you can't name the 1986 Celtics 6-man. And then he's like, it was funny. It made me think of that when you were like, who is that Yankees player on the Blue Jays now?
Yeah.
Isaiah Cutter. And we all knew that too. It was just like, we need to get a life, but not really.
It's a problem.
Yeah. So Uncle Ted says Jose Urania is this year's Dane Dunning. So we have ratio approved for 15 teamers.
Then that tells me to stay away.
I mean, Dunning
as everyone knows, I can't Dunning it.
I like Dunning.
I like Dunning too. Cool name. And then he also adds Luis Matos and Brendan Rodgers in every 12 or 15 team league should be 100% rostered. So those Uncle Ted, we'll be interested to see how those play out. I will make mental notes of those guys because we'll see. Right now, they're obviously not 100% rostered. So if they come on and are hot, then
Brandon Rodgers needs to be really quickly because Colorado has 7 home games this upcoming week. So get your Rockies in your lineup. get your Charlie Blackmon. He's back too.
How much are you adding Toglia for in TGFBI or any league?
$6? 4?
He had 3 homers on the road last week, but it still hit 190.
That's wild. All right, let's get back on track here. Let's talk about Hayden Birdsong. Who is Hayden Birdsong, do you ask? Well, he's a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. Not necessarily anything that's going to wow you up when you look just at his player page, about league average strikeout rate. He actually walks 13.6% of batters. He's got a 5.79 ERA with a 4.20 expected ERA, so there is some regressions supposedly in there. Giving up some hard contact, hard hit rate, and exit velocities. If I'm looking at him right now, obviously only 4.2 innings and 5 strikeouts, and it's only been 1 game. Are we interested in him as a pickup?
I would say in the deep league, in the deepest of league, it's maybe worth a shot. Especially, I think I don't have it pulled up in front of me who he has this upcoming week, but I don't know. It's the deepest of leagues. It's just to take a shot. I like that he's in he's in San Francisco, but yeah, deep leagues only.
Yeah. It's interesting. Him and Hayden Wisniewski faced off, and I wonder if that's the first time that 2 pitchers with the first name Hayden have played against each other.
I think I heard that somewhere. I don't know if that's real.
Okay. I'm going to call him Hayden Bird Poem.
So he has at Atlanta on Tuesday, and then he has at Cleveland on Sunday. So he has a 2-start week, but I probably wouldn't start that 2-start week. I would start him at home games. I think that would be, but I might just give him the week off and check back in after next week.
I think it's a fair call there, LC. We have somebody in the chat. I've never actually know if I've seen his name before. If you have been here, James, forgive me. James Lukowski, says, what's with Max Meyer? The entire staff is hurt, and he's in AAA right now. What are your guys' thoughts on Max Meyer, who obviously, as one of the big pitching prospects going into the season, and the glimpses we have seen of him, he's been good. But obviously he's been hurt, and that's been a big reason why he necessarily hasn't been around. But I think he's probably, in the coming weeks, I'm sure he's going to be back on the big league roster. So I think if you have the room to stash, I think he's worth the stash for sure. If you don't have the room to stash, it's a little bit more of a problem. But I do think, obviously, he's not going to have to worry about innings this year. And the Marlins have to see what they have in him, whether they're going to market him for a trade at some point, or if they find out if he is a true building block for their future. I think he's a really good hold right now. What do you guys think?
24 days ago, there was an alert that says Max Meyer will make another start at AAA Jacksonville on Friday, so being June 7th. But Marlins manager Skip Shoemaker says he expects the right-hander to be back in the majors, quote, soon. That was 24 days ago, and there's been no update. And I stashed him as soon as I saw that injury news. So if he's still out there, pick him up, because he won't be a waste of a roster spot like he has been for me. But it is interesting he makes that comment, and then we don't hear anything for 3.5 weeks.
So in 3 starts, he had a 2.12 ERA, a 0.82 WHIP, and a 3-to-1 K to walk ratio, 4.6% walk rate. He's looked good, and in AAA, he has struggled. A 6 ERA, a 1.59 WHIP in 39 innings. So maybe it's the fact that he's struggling right now in AAA. Is that maybe the issue why they haven't brought him back up? That would be my guess.
He's not really stretched out either. He's only thrown like 4 innings, and they must be like on a pitch count with him. I don't know. He can't be that motivated down there. I would be worried about like his motivation after they took him down after he was pitching pretty well earlier. I like him, but like they bring him back up and he starts going 6-7 innings again, like he was doing in the beginning of the season. He's not, he's not been throwing that. So I don't know. I wonder what his value is going to be. Like, are they going to mess around with him? This is not, they usually bring people up and just pitch them, but They're messing around with him. I'm not sure I trust the Marlins front office on this one.
They did have Yanni Chirino start, which I think should be his spot. I can't think of any other thing than why it's just that him struggling right now. Because again, the innings aren't going to be an issue.
Why risk throwing him out there at all, though?
But if he's wasting bullets in AAA, I feel like it's almost one of those things. I would much rather him get that. If you're throwing Yanni Chirinos out there, why not throw Max Meyer out there? Like it's not like Yanni Chirinos is lighting the world on fire.
The only thing I can think of, he's coming off Tommy John, right? So, that's a little bit of it. That's got to be in the equation. And then what I think people don't think about is that when, yes, they're a player, they may be, wasting bullets or whatever, pitching 5 innings or 4 innings in AAA or AA. And they're like, why don't they just do that in the majors? Because you don't understand how much it taxes the bullpen. You cannot have a starter go out there and he's expected to go 4 innings. That's going to destroy everything. And especially with the bullpen, the Marlins bullpen being not thin, but it's not excellent. They can't withstand that. So I guess they're waiting to build him up so he can get to that 6-7 inning threshold and then kind of go from there so it doesn't ruin the bullpen. But maybe it's Tommy John and they're just like, we're going to take it easy. So I don't know. That's why I love him long-term, but I'm staying away from him now because I just have no idea. I'm with Art. I don't trust the front office. I don't know what they're doing.
The only thing I would combat that with is if you have Yanni Chirinos out there, I'm looking at his recent games. He's pitched 5 innings in both the 2 outings he's pitched. Max Meyer, don't they can give you 5?
I don't know.
5 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 innings, 1 earned run. I feel like I don't think asking him to go 5 is crazy. If you're trying to, build him back up, it's not like you're asking him to go 7.
It's also the confidence you have in him because probably this is not his value is at an all-time high, but if he was to struggle in the majors for any extended period coming off Tommy John surgery, like he looked good in the 3 starts where I think there's the curiosity factor. But if he was to come up and stink, I think you'd forget about the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I will say that he does bring up Christian Scott in the chat, James does. And I would much rather have Christian Scott rest of season. I think we would all agree on that.
Yeah.
I think he's supposed to, I believe, is it Tuesday? He's getting the start for the Mets. So if he's out there, go pick him up.
And that's a good discussion. What would you put on Christian Scott?
We'll use percentage of fab because we don't know how much you have left. If Christian Scott is out there, I'm probably going to put 25% of my fab for him. He's had a 2.77 ERA since he went down to AAA.
Yeah, I like him. I liked how he looked while he was up. I think he's going to be solid. So hopefully, and the Mets are starting to play well again. So they have a reason to keep him up.
The ballpark's always a great place, great landing spot for a young pitcher. If he does make a mistake, he won't get burned every single time, which is it's good for his development. I'm fully in. I go up to 25%.
Oh, buddies, twinsies. So we all agree on Christian Scott there. Uncle Ted says Jose Buto is a sneaky ad. He also is a great transition for us because I wanted to go back to one of the comments he made about a player we were going to talk about, and that's Dickenzie Noel. Dickenzie Noel. Does anybody want to comment if he thinks he's a must roster? Uncle Ted does in 15-team mains. Marty, you're shaking your head. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
About Noel.
All I got to tell you about him is that he hit a ball 115.4 miles per hour. So that means that this guy hits dangers. So he's striking out 40% of the time. That's a huge problem. Will he be up long term? The Guardians, I don't know. Guardians, like they move their prospects up and down, but as of right now, he absolutely is a must roster. I think 12, anything 12 or higher.
Okay. I mean the power. He's got a 115.4 max exit velocity, which right now is in the top, I believe, 3% of baseball. 60% hard hit rate. Obviously, the K rate's high, but someone that could potentially deliver that much power in a categories league if you're lacking home runs, definitely somebody interesting there to take a look at. I want to scroll down because there was a question. Please comment from James. Please comment on if Shane Baz should be picked up as a speculative add and your thoughts on Jackson Jobe. I think you should add Shane. To me, for Shane Baz, I think we know the talent. It's just a question of, again, what does your roster look like in terms of, do you need the pitch? If you need the pitching and you're able to stash him, I would definitely stash him. If you have a lot of injuries and it's hurting you holding on to him and you feel like pretty decent pitching, I would much rather use that spot because the timeline I feel like has been very unclear with him. So that's where I would go with it if anybody disagrees with that.
What's weird about Shane Baz too is that he's not on the IL, right? So if you have him on your roster, as I do in my infamous 10-team league, I am stashing him. I am waiting to see what we're going to do. And I think we actually talked about him a little bit last week as well. I think we kind of went into it a little bit more. But I think he's worth the stash if what David's saying. In the league, I'm first place, and I have a lot of good pitching. So I'm just holding him because I have the luxury to do so. But how the Rays are going to use him, talking about a short lease, maybe 3, 4, or 5 innings, might be as long as he goes. We don't know. There's a lot of questions there, but the strikeouts are there, and he looks great, down at the farm.
What do you think his rostership is on ESPN, if you had to take a guess?
14%.
30%.
30, you said, Doc?
Mm-hmm.
And 14 for you, Marty? What did you say, Art?
Probably lower than that. 5.
Art is closest, 8.5%. So that's how many people are stashing him, at least over on ESPN. So he's probably available in a good amount of leagues if you have the room to stash. Not in like 15-team NFBCs, I don't think, but in more kind of, I think, laid-back leagues, he's probably out there. James does point out that he has Ohtani and Judge in his 12-team league.
I wanted to bring up Jobe. I don't know if Marty. I think
Yes.
Jobe is great. I don't know when he's going to get a chance in the rotation. I guess Mize or Maeda might not be in the rotation at some point, but like Jobe is pitching really well in the minors. I would love to stash him. Marty, do you have a sense on when he's getting called up?
Let me put a pin in that. Shane Baz is rostered in 56% of Yahoo leags. So
Really?
Think about how much more active Yahoo users are than ESPN, where 56% of Yahoo are rostering Shane Baz. But Joe, yeah, so Kenta Maeda's, eventually they had to give up on him. And I think when they do, I think Jobe is the next call. The problem is, and now Casey Mize left earlier today with a leg issue at first. Some are just saying it's minor cramping, and so you just have to get out because of the humidity. So that may not be a long-term injury there. But Kenta Maeda is not currently a Major League Baseball pitcher in my eyes. He needs to just go away. But the kid gloves are on, and what I do not like about the front office, as of what I've seen so far, at least for the last 5 years, I know there's a new regime in there, but the Detroit Tigers front office in general with their pitching is very conservative. So if they were to bring him, it would probably be late, like, the September call-ups.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you get 3 weeks of him, he can still be a rookie.
What's the point of that, though?
There's the front office has shown no interest in winning. So why do it?
It's crazy.
I wanted to transition to talk about a couple more players, and I wanted to transition with a question. Who would you guys rather have rest of season? Mark Vientos or Jose Miranda? Both been very hot hitting the ball right now.
Man, this one's the easiest one. Mark Vientos times 1,000 times a million, dude.
Tell us,
For
Marty.
me.
I agree with you. But if there's specific reasons, because if you look at a lot of their metrics, they're very similar right now.
Yeah, I think Mark Vientos has that next level power. And I was looking into Jose Miranda. The contact rate looks good and the batting average is solid. I don't think he's hit a home run yet, though. So you please someone look that up. So if I'm terribly wrong, I get corrected. But I'm pretty sure the power isn't there. And Mark Vientos is right now in the middle of a hot streak. The Mets are hot and they're playing him every day. So I'm all about Vientos.
295 batting average, 10 home runs right now from Mark Vientos. I believe they were in the extra innings with the Astros. I'm double checking right now what he had a good game again today too. He was 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs today. So he's got 10 homers and 25 RBIs on the season. Mark Vientos.
I like
8 homers, 36 RBIs for Miranda batting 294.
I like Miranda a lot. I think he's a good pickup. Vientos, the power is impressive though.
Vientos I think is legit to the point where I would not expect him to be dropped rest of season. I think he's one of those ads that's going to stick rest of year. It's not like ride him while he's hot. I think this is a legit ad if he's out there.
I'd agree.
All right. So we're all Mark Vientos in that question.
Maybe not
Okay.
Art. I think Art's Miranda.
I probably lean more towards Miranda. I think his contact skills are really strong. So I like that profile a little bit better to hold up the batting average more than Vientos. I think Vientos has the type of profile that will lead to a lot of home runs, but also some cold stretches.
So Art is team Jose Miranda Cosgrove is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Only one,
Miranda Cosgrove.
Oh, okay.
only one of them has rights named after them.
Does Jose Miranda have any with his playing time? Are there any questions? I don't know, David. You may know this, or is he locked in, everyday starter, no questions asked? Because I know Mark Vientos is, so that could be the tiebreaker. I don't know what their plan is.
I'm pretty sure he's not sitting against lefties right now. And when he's been hitting this hot, they've been putting his bat in the lineup every day. Because Julian got optioned down, which kind of kept a spot open in the lineup for him to have everyday playing time. They kind of, at the moment they optioned Julian, they kind of had to make a decision between the two of them for who they were going to option. So I think I will double check in terms of, I'm pretty sure he's playing every day. But this was somebody that I was really high on going into last year. And he had a horrible season, but this was a player that led the minor leagues in home runs just a couple of years ago. 15 homers in his rookie season in under 500 plate appearances. He's got 8 right now and 241 plate appearances. So he'd be on pace right now for another 15 plus homer season, hitting 297. K percentage right now, 14.3%. That is pretty good. 90th percentile.
Can I change my answer?
Look, I think both of them are really good. So if any of them are either of them are on your waiver wire, they're a must add. Both of them, I think, are players that need to be rostered in 12-team leagues, potentially even 10-team leagues. If you have stars that aren't producing, that you can pick up these guys and they will produce.
I will say the one more thing with Mark Vientos, he has first and third base eligibility, where Miranda only has third.
Oh, that could be the deciding factor.
That's big, yeah.
Any thoughts on Harold Ramirez? Uncle Ted brings up he was hitting cleanup for the Nationals today, went 3 for 4 last night. I'm outside of a 15-team league, I think I'm not too interested.
Anytime someone gets in the top 4 of a lineup, if that sticks, I'm more interested. Let's see if he stays in the top 4. Yeah, then I'll become more interested. Yeah.
Okay. James asks, question, who is the number 1 pick next year as of now? I got to think it's either Judge or Ohtani, right? When it's all said and done, assuming both stay healthy rest of season.
You could go Bobby Witt. You could go Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah, I think they're in the conversation, but I think when it's all said and done, it's either going to be Judge or Ohtani, and I feel like it's going to be Ohtani.
Bobby Witt could go number 1. I don't think Gunnar will.
Well, if you literally today had to say who your gut thinks is going to be the number 1 ranked player, not saying who could be, but who would your gut pick be? I think it's going to be Ohtani.
I would pick Bobby Witt because of his age. And it's just I have less worry about injury because he's in the prime of his playing career. He could play 162. That's what he's. That would be the only
Bobby
other
Witt is
factor.
Bobby Witt is going to help you in every category too. He's the best guy that can help you in all 5 categories.
And Ohtani will clog up your utility spot only, which isn't that big of a deal. I mean, we're splitting hairs here. Who doesn't want Ohtani at this point? I think we can all agree we've overlooked him ever since like 2019 or 2020. Like every year we push him back for whatever reason, and he keeps showing that he's just the best baseball player on the planet.
I mean, look, Bobby Witt is the Patrick Mahomes of baseball. We get it.
It's true. That's true.
He is a dog. But I think when you go to your drafts, Yahoo, ESPN, NFBC, you're going to go to the number 1 spot, regardless if you pick him or not at number 1. The number 1 spot is going to be held by Shohei Ohtani. I firmly believe that, assuming he does not get hurt. Art, what do you think?
Especially if Ohtani is cleared to pitch next year.
Maybe this year. They talked. I've heard stirrings. They may do it at the end of this year. I don't know, but I've heard.
Yeah, if he's cleared to pitch, I mean, he probably will pitch a lot less in the Dodgers than he did with the Angels. But I think Ohtani's one. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think Gunnar, Bobby Witt, and Judge are very well worth that pick at 1. But I think the consensus will be Ohtani is where I stand.
No love
today.
for Juan Soto. Juan Soto, anybody?
Dude, he's a beast. He'll be a top 5 pick. He'll probably be the 5th player taken after the first 4 we just mentioned, if I had to guess.
Skeen's the first pitcher.
I heard someone talk about, was that on Palazzo that was brought up?
I brought it up.
Yeah, there could very well he could be, right? Like
I could see someone doing it. Why not?
I mean, it's not going to be Strider. It's not going to be Cole.
Glass now is probably the best pitcher this year.
But I don't see Glass now being ranked number 1. Probably Corbin Burns will be up there.
Drake Skubal?
Skubal might be. It could be Skubal. I'll go. Corbin Burns will be up there, but he won't be 1. Especially with now, it looks like he's changed his approach to try to get more ground balls, so his Ks have been down.
Which could be better for his arm.
Yeah, I know. I think it is.
So
I think it's gonna be Skubal, but I think Skeens will go in the top 3 or 4.
Zach Wheeler up there too.
Yep.
Shout out to him.
Skubal and Wheeler, I think, will be ahead of him. Not too many other ones. All right, let's put this. Over or under 4.5 or 5. Let's do 5.5. Over or under 5.5 for where Paul Skeens is ranked as a starting pitcher next year.
Under.
So, like, is he a top 5 pitcher?
Basically, yeah.
Will he be drafted as a top 5 pitcher? I say he definitely will be.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
But probably like
top 3.
I mean,
okay.
Everybody who didn't get Tyler Glass now this year is going to be looking at Paul Skeens as like next year's Tyler Glass now. Like, if he only throws 150 innings, they're going to be 150 amazing innings. Get those innings on your roster. I definitely think he's top 5. He's top 5 for me.
Zach Wheeler above him, yes or no?
Yeah.
I would take Skeens over Wheeler. And it's only because of age. And Zach's going to go deep into the playoffs, and he shoves in the playoffs. He's the best playoff pitcher in baseball.
Okay.
Zach Wheeler has thrown a lot recently.
I think realistically, the only players you could probably at this point talk about is Zach Wheeler, Tyler Glasnow, Corbin Burns, and Tariq Skubal.
I'm cool with it.
I'm just looking down the list of top scoring players this year.
Tyler Glasnow would probably be the number 1 pick pitcher if he goes 150 to 170 innings this year and he does what he's doing. I see him being the number 1 pitcher. Skubal probably number 2. Skeens 3.
And Uncle Ted put it as Skubal, Skeens, Glasnow, Wheeler, Cole.
Oh yeah, Garrett Cole. He looked okay last time out. Better than how we talked about him a week and a half ago or whatever.
I mean, I always hear people talk about selling him now that he had a good start. Is there already? I know we're kind of getting ready to kind of finish up the show here in a few minutes. Is Garrett Cole? What's a realistic trade offer you could offer if you're really concerned that he's a ticking time bomb? What are you realistically accepting for Garrett Cole right now? I think we're all.
Would you take Hunter Brown if he was offered to you?
Yes.
That'd be a real low sell on Cole.
I would keep Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
Differing
I'm taking
opinions.
Hunter Brown. I'm taking Hunter Brown. I think.
David, you flip flopped a lot after last week because I was the one saying that we needed to sell Garrett Cole.
I've always said that we should sell Garrett Cole. I'm just saying, like, you can't. Like, I don't think most people in your league, unless you're playing with people that are really completely idiots, they probably, if they drafted him that high, realize that there's this elbow stuff going on and he's not pitching well. And it's like, if you play, to me, let me start with this way. If you play fantasy baseball, you are not an idiot, because fantasy baseball is such a time committed game. You hear people all the time that don't play say, I don't have the time for fantasy baseball. So usually it's the most skillful fantasy players that are playing fantasy baseball. I don't care if it's a home league. I don't care if it's NFBC. I don't think when people say, like, sell Garrett Cole after, he has a good start, I definitely agree with that. The only problem is that I just don't realistically, most people in your league, I think, know what you're doing. And I just don't know what you can realistically expect back. So that's why I feel like for anybody listening that does want to try to trade Garrett Cole while his value seems like it's kind of coming back up a little bit. Okay, like, what are some realistic options that you should try to trade him for? Because I think that's the best advice we can help people with is to look at who you should target if you're going to offer a trade right now.
Well, I have the Razzball player rater in front of me, so let's play a little game, guys.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're going to start off with Jack Flaherty, rest of season. Who do you want?
Cole or Flaherty?
Give me Flaherty.
I'll say Flaherty as well. So so basically that the offer, we're going to say every offer for every player you name, we're going to offer Garrett Cole in a trade to that player, for that player.
Okay.
All
right. So Jack Flaherty, and what'd you say? Are you on board? Would you rather have Flaherty or would you rather go Cole?
Cole.
I love it. All right. Cole Reagans,
no question.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
Yeah, I think so.
Easy peasy.
That would be an interesting trade. Yeah.
What about Eric Fetty?
No way.
No, I'll go Cole.
I'll go Cole, especially in a league where you're going to get wins. But I don't think that's a bad option.
Fetty, even the underlying numbers for him back up what he's doing. So it's so yeah. Another one. Let's see.
Funny. James James says no one is trading pitchers in my league.
My league either. No one wants to trade pitching.
I don't blame him. I guess that's really about. I mean, Chris Bassett. I'd rather have Chris Bassett. Jared Jones. Are we worried about him going so deep into the season? Maybe where maybe you'd want to make that trade.
I don't think I'm doing it for Jared Jones.
No.
Bailey Ober.
No.
I like Bailey Ober. I think Bailey
I'll take Ober.
Had a sneaky strong season from a bad start.
Uncle Ted says Cole for CJ Abrams, Wyatt Langford, and Freddie Peralta. I would take the package side.
The package is pretty good. Yeah.
I'm assuming this is obviously this is redraft, of course.
Wait, hold on. So someone only traded Garrett Cole, and they got CJ Abrams, Wyatt Langford, and Freddie Peralta.
That's a good trade.
I would say I'd rather have Freddie Peralta over Cole.
Yeah, and then
David, you said if you're
good, Doc.
You said you can't be an idiot and play fantasy baseball.
That's true. It kind of contradicts my whole speech.
I would rather have Freddie Peralta over Cole.
I would
all
too.
Agree on that?
Yeah, I do. I would agree on that.
Man, I mean, congratulations to that guy. Must be a dynasty.
If it's dynasty, I mean, I would.
No, that would be even worse.
Yeah, because Wyatt
Okay,
Langford
never
and
mind.
TJ Abrams in Dynasty.
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
So basically, I think long story short is like try to find a good. What I would do, whether it's the Razzball Player Rater or whatever ranking system you trust, is I would go look at how it's ranked, find the lowest, find kind of the tier of players that you would find acceptable for Cole. I would start out a little higher in that tier and then work your way down to the lowest player in that tier that you would accept back in a trade. Whether it's CBS rankings, I know before the season we've done some rankings. If you're ever interested about any of our own rankings, you can DM us or bring it to the show and ask us specific questions. There's the Razzball Player Rater, obviously with those rankings. So that's how I would best attack if you're trying to get rid of someone like Garrett Cole. If you really don't want to hold on to him, that's how I would approach trying to trade him going forward. But again, if you do have trade questions, bring them in the chat because we're here every Sunday, so we can help you with any trade questions you do have. And Uncle Ted says, always reject. His advice is always reject and counter with your own guys you want. You already know who they covet. So Uncle Ted's thoughts on that. Gentlemen, any other players you would like to bring up or any other thoughts you have before we close out the show for tonight?
I want to look at a couple hitters real quick. Who would you rather have for Garrett Cole? Starting with Jazz Chisholm Jr. Who would you rather have rest of the season, Cole or Jazz?
That's tough. I expect both to get hurt.
So, pick your poison.
You have Jazz's stats in front of you?
I'll go Jazz.
I do not.
I'm pulling them up right now. Jazz is 10 homers, 14 steals, hitting .259 right now.
So far, he's been worth $15, if you want to put it in that context.
Unless I really need the pitching badly to where I'm only trading him for a pitcher, I would probably take Jazz.
I don't know about that. I don't know. That's a tough trade for me to make.
I would take Jazz because I've been struggling to find power all year, and my ratios are screwed already, so whatever.
And Jazz's strikeout rate's a career low right now. For what it's worth, FWIW.
What about Ryan McMahon? Who I don't know if there's anyone like he could be on the trade block as well. So maybe him going to a better team could help, even though he's coming out of Coors, but he hits outside of Coors. Ryan McMahon or Garrett Cole?
It's got to be Cole.
I would say Cole.
I'll take McMahon. McMahon's playing half his games.
Oh, you big McMahon, you.
I'm the big McMahon, yeah.
Okay. Marty, who do you side on that, Cole or McMahon?
I would rather have Ryan McMahon. Second, third base eligibility.
Oh, wow!
Okay,
you really don't think Cole's going to make it at all this season?
See, nope. I think I don't. It's less about Cole with that one. I actually do believe in Ryan McMahon.
That sounds like ridiculous.
Are we going to combat the bottom of the screen? Are we going head to head again?
I don't mind. Josh, I don't mind putting my stamp on Ryan McMahon.
Josh
I think he's good.
Is that how you say his name? For the Yankees, he's a relief pitcher. He was warming up after one inning of Garrett Cole today, and Yankees Twitter was freaking out for like 5 minutes because they thought that Garrett Cole was going to leave after one inning. It's a ticking time bomb with him.
But again, I think we all have talked about we all are selling Garrett Cole. The question is if the outcome is where he does pitch the rest of the season, I'm not saying it's the most likely outcome, but if he does, McMahon's not enough for me.
That I agree. Yeah, I'm giving up Cole.
That's fine with me. I think I would never draft someone like Cole in the first place, so it's hard to put myself in that scenario. But I would look to get rid of people like that ASAP.
All right, so Art, you know what we got to do is if he does decently rest of season and McMahon does not do as well as Garrett Cole, we're going to get them Cole for Christmas.
There it is. There it is.
All right. Is there any other players you wanted to add to that, Marty, or no? Is that the last one?
David, I could be here all night if you guys let me. Absolutely.
One
No,
more.
that's it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay, one more. I can do one more. I like it. One more. Christian Walker.
Christian Walker.
Oh,
Christian Walker.
I gotta look up what Christian.
That's the range for me.
Yeah. So far, Christian Walker's earned. It's a good. I mean, he's earned you $21. So he's sandwiched between Rafael Devers and Fernando Tatis Jr. So I think it's easy to say he's underrated.
I would say don't Walker to that trade.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I like
We're
it.
feeling it tonight, boys.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah, Walker's looking like he's on another 30 home run, 90 runs an RBI season pace. He's really solid.
All right, so all Christian Walker on that one.
I probably wouldn't trade Cole for Christian Walker myself. I think I have a little bit more faith in the potential of Garrett Cole and willing to take a chance that he's going to be healthy. I really do.
But I mean, Art, the one thing I will combat you with here is he's on pace for another 30 plus home runs this season. A 30 homer bat you don't think it's worth enough for you?
Well, I mean, if I'm at the point where you guys are describing where I'm looking to sell, then Walker would be a good return, I think. Yes. But I wouldn't be looking to sell Cole.
Okay.
This is where
That's
I
fair.
am. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a good exercise. I think we gave some people some good trade targets if they are looking to trade Garrett Cole. Doc, anything else you would like to add?
Nope.
Simple man. LC, anything for the people?
No, thanks for listening, everyone. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you came here, so thanks. I appreciate you.
We all appreciate you guys, as Elsie said. If you like the content on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please change that and hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so that way you know anytime we go live. Usually it's going to be Sundays right around 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. If you like listening to podcasts better, we are live on every podcast platform, I think except Google Podcasts. For some reason, there was a problem with us over on Google Podcasts, but everything else, I believe we are out there on every platform. And if you listen there, just a rating and review goes a long way. So please do that for the boys here. And bring your questions. We're here answering them all season long for you guys. So for Doc, for Little Cheesecake, for Marty Party, I'm D Mendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. Talk to you guys next week.